Welcome to Iron Knight Endeavors. Today we're going to be working on a Vanguard Kitbash. First we're starting off and we are pulling off some of that blue stuff that has been sat for a little too long and cemented itself. Next we're going to do the classic struggle of messing with a Citadel paint, plastic glue for a little bit and then moving on to Tamiya Extra Thin Cement, as I just couldn't find one of my needles to help me with that. I wasn't sure if I was going to how much of the original kit I was going to use with this. As you can see, the whole thing's a little bit messed up. I originally used a few 3D prints and kitbashed it into a model for my Dark Angels. The Dark Angels looked pretty fine, but I made an agreement with my friend that I would kitbash this and send it out to him. It wasn't necessarily his idea, but this is about all I really do with right now. It seemed like the best thing I could do for him. So we're putting this together. We'll be using parts from a old kit from the, I don't know what year it was, but it's a old Death Watch kit that comes with very thematic models for each chapter. A lot of the mainline chapters. This is a sword that I cut together. It's using the blade from the Tartaros pattern Terminator kit from a Horus Heresy mixed with the sword from the actual Jump Back Captain. So cut that apart a little bit and reassign that. I did that before I decided to record any of this. Using the drill, I got a little crazy with the plastic cement when putting it together, so we kind of got rid of the eyes detail, so we're just trying to reestablish that a little bit, and using the drill on both eyes, we even it out just to make it not look so goofy on that side. Later it'll get some paint and some wash, but we're using the Vanguard shoulder from the kit so that we can kind of just have an easy template. We don't need to use transfers or anything, and it does come from the kit that we are kind of cannibalizing in order to use this. The kit was pretty insanely messed up. Like, quite a few of the other Death Watch models from it were cut up in order to use them in the Chaos Army that had been established originally, that the person who owned it originally had wanted to make. A lot of icons had been cut off of the main body and such. So I decided to use the pieces. I really enjoyed the beaky helmet from this model. We're struggling with the blue stuff again. It's not allowing the plastic cement to adhere. Using a little bit of that to get rid of some of that. We are going to now be struggling for quite a while as I understand the concepts of space. Because of me tearing apart the old kit, I did not leave enough space for the helmet. You'll see several times in here I also make the grievous mistake of not really allowing one thing to set before trying to glue anything else on it. So allowing that head to set up a little bit and kind of solidify itself. In order to recover that little backpack spacer that most Space Marine models have, I decided to grab some sprue out of the closet and cut it up a little bit. This version is a little small, call it 1.0 if you'd like, but as you kind of see, I'll try and put it together. It sticks a little bit, but you can see I have some issues. Later on in the video, I did decide to strip the original paint from the miniature before moving on to try and paint it. Because of that, this little set that I'm doing now does fail. I do a little bit better measurements and end up making a little better, more stable surface by flipping the pieces over so that they don't have that huge gap in the middle there. I thought that because of that it would be able to adhere better, but it didn't work out quite that way. So here we're doing some more struggling with the blue stuff, the sticky tack, poster tack. We're struggling with that some more. And I'll continue to work on that for a little while as the blue stuff's basically hardened into a rough cement. I don't think that I'll be able to get all of it out, just figuring out, trying to get the tool and take it out with the drill bit on the hand drill. Eventually I grab a big lump of blue tack and try to get out what I can and just kind of call it good. Figured that since it's just in that key and that key won't be used for the actual shoulder arm that it's going onto, it should be fine. I don't believe that it falls off after the cleaning process or anything like that, though I should have waited longer, and that'll happen several times. I'm sure I've already brought it up. That needed to wait longer between applying glue to one piece, letting it cure, and then putting on another piece that needed glued on. It would have probably made it a lot easier, especially since none of these are keyed into each other, and it doesn't really have that snug fit that's like a model that is intended to go together will have. One thing that is interesting for me is, since I'm using multiple parts from different kits of Space Marines, while putting on this shoulder pad, it looks pretty nice, but because of it fitting pretty well, I was kind of surprised when I put on the next arm later. I'll be using the bolter piece from this kit. You can kind of see that the jump pack isn't quite right on there. I'll be using the bolter pistol from the Space Marine Captain with jump pack kit, just because it's probably the cleanest looking. I do enjoy the aesthetic of bolters. They're kind of just a square with some details on them, but they look pretty nice to me. And then you can kind of run them as anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be WYSIWYG. I wasn't going to magnetize it just because I only had one shoulder pad, and that seems like I wouldn't want to give somebody something with a bunch of pieces that they had to keep track of. So I applied this arm here. I kind of just made an executive decision on that one. Didn't ask my friend or anything, which I probably should have. After doing that, I grab out the new shoulder pad to go on to the left arm, or the right arm. I went with the very ornate shoulder pad from the Storm Pack, the jump pack cap, or jump pack unit, the Sternguard Veterans unit from the old Sternguard Veterans unit. It's a little bit big for the model I've discovered, which is very strange. Based on what we said earlier about the shoulder pad from the Death Watch kit not actually having that much of an issue, but when we put on this shoulder pad here, it does have kind of a chunkier aesthetic, which I don't mind, but it is a little off-putting that the size difference is so aggressive. Having some issues putting it on. It is very, I kind of seen it as alright because it is supposed to be this very ornate shoulder piece, and then everything falls off because I didn't wait long enough for the glue to set up. But it is a very ornate shoulder piece, and it looks very nice with the double eagle. However, it just looks a little big to me. I don't know if I would necessarily use something like that again. I don't know if it fits the aesthetic I ended up going for with the Space Marine, but it did end up looking very nice, and I'm not unhappy with it. I just think I would make a different decision if I was to do it again. Especially since the other shoulder pad does not look quite as bad. I would actually recommend, if you were going to try and kind of recover the kit that I got this from, the new Deathwatch kit probably has some very nice shoulder pads from Deathwatch. I would probably use one of those if I had access to them. I plan on getting that kit because it does have a lot of shoulder pads for chapters that I want to kitbash in the future. Honestly, a lot of them are going to just be things that I have been gaslit, Space Marine chapters I've been gaslit into liking by Mr. Bones 40k. I really enjoy the Wolf Spears, and I saw that they have a full shoulder piece inside that kit, as well as a few others. I want to do Atlantean Spears, a lot of spear chapters apparently. I want to do Minotaurs. There's quite a few kitbashes that I'd like to do moving forward. I would also like to do some kitbashes of custom chapters, and I think that that's something I'd really like to do, kind of in the sense of the Order of the Legions or something like that. So if you've got any like Space Marine chapters that are loyalist that you'd like to be kitbashed on my channel, feel free to reach out and we'll discuss like what your ideal Space Marine chapter kind of would look like. I don't know. I don't plan on sending anything out to anyone if I do end up making them. That's just not something really in the cards. Plastic is expensive, and it's just getting more expensive. But it would be fun to kind of work and kind of realize some people's like desires and what they kind of have in their head, and see if what I can do and like what challenges that would kind of leave me with. Right now I'm taking off the wing ornament, or the feather ornamentation from the donor model. The donor model got a little messed up by the previous owner, as they had wanted to do a chaos army from what I can tell, and had cut off a lot of icons and such that were on there before. The Death Guard Pauldron, or the Deathwatch Pauldron being a huge example, if you could see it being shaved away and not wanting that aesthetic in their army. So I take the feathers off so that I can use it for the shoulder shield. I think that it would, in my head, it would make a cool aesthetic to have something that's a little more Raven Guardy on the main body of the guy, and not just only the backpack and helmet kind of going on that by itself. I didn't really want to only have a few things referencing the Raven Guard. So as we kind of go through here, I try to get this attached here, but not having a lot of surface area makes it a huge problem. I kind of decide to try and get it on the back and see if that would work, but I realized that the scarring from cutting it off would look pretty bad, so I flip it over and try to attach it to the bottom. It just, not very much of it is working. It's a very fiddly piece. It does come off when I end up cleaning the model of the paint. I should have done that beforehand, especially with all the pieces being removed already. It would have made it a lot easier to clean, but because of how everything was, I just kind of decided to do what I could with it. I ended up off camera. It came off after it came off camera. I would attach it to the same place I am now, but also gluing it to the bolter pistol, which the 2-point connection really allowed for it to become a lot more stable. So just trying to put on the shoulder shield now. I should have waited a little longer for the glue to dry on the feathers though, as they will quickly become very loose and fall off after just a little bit of time in the vat of Totally Awesome. Just getting it on there. You can already see it starting to kind of lose its connectivity. It kind of looks like it's flying to the side, which I kind of thought was a cool aesthetic, kind of like he's going through the air. And then he will take his bath into this Holy Awesome. My setup is literally just a McDonald's cup and a cheap jewelry cleaner that when I previously had tried to do this, the water seal, the Totally Awesome actually ate through the water seal, and just when I came in the next day, it had just completely spilled everywhere. Taking this Rubbermaid like grout cleaner that I found at Walmart, it works a lot better than like an electric toothbrush. You kind of see the results here. It left some blues or some purple on some areas I don't think I hit well enough. I should have run it through again before priming it. Post priming it, I kind of try out the sponge method. I don't really like how I didn't really want it to be a single black tone, and then I should have probably painted it in sub-assemblies. I primed it white due to the fact that initially I had actually done black, and I went through and painted the whole model already once at this point, and I had to strip it again because when I went to use my airbrush, for the jets, what happened was that the needle wasn't all the way in, and the airbrush kind of sprayed orange over the entirety of the model as soon as I pulled down the needle. So I ended up stripping it so that I had like a good starting ground to work off of. I probably shouldn't have. It looked pretty nice before that, and it wasn't like the whole thing was ruined, but I don't know. Quick decisions, bad mistakes. I probably could have gotten away with it. I think it looked better the first time around than it does this time, but you can see me kind of losing confidence with the paint job, and I ended up leaving a lot of like white areas in the plating that I didn't really like. A little bit of it comes out in the wash, but I just don't know if I was happy with the results on this armor, which leads me to really believe that I should have painted it in sub-assemblies, keeping the arms and the helmet separate. I don't know if I would have done white on the hip plates after that, but I don't know. It seems pretty nice. The white is very bright and vibrant, so I can't be too upset with the white that I do have now. Just definitely once it gets a wash, it's a lot better. And then doing some aesthetic choices and stuff. We're painting the trim of the decorative shoulder piece black right now because we are going to be using Turbo Dork's Red Rum, which is a very like metallic, beautiful color. If you've watched One Page Rules, at one point they had a full red Farside Enclave army painted in Turbo Dork's Totally Awesome, and it was gorgeous. So I decided to use that in this build. It came out pretty nice, in my opinion. I can't be too unhappy with the model. Everything on it just seems to be doing... I just have minor grievances, and maybe you think that it's fine, but there's just things that having it in my hand that I just don't really love. Gonna probably try and improve on in the next time I would kitbash anything like this. Vanguard isn't really my favorite chapter. It's more of a friend's favorite. I'm more of a Dark Angels. I enjoy the Dark Angels. I enjoy a lot of the new chapter lore that's coming out. I don't know how I don't really feel amazing about the Fallen lore, but that's neither here nor there. The Vanguard being this kind of hit and run, aggression, stealth chapter is really fun, and I do enjoy their lore. They're not my favorite. Going in here with the Liberator Gold. The Liberator Gold is a little bit paler of a gold. I don't see a lot of people using it as often unless they're using it as a highlight, but I think that it looked a lot better on this paint scheme, just because it didn't really have the high contrast that like a Retributor Gold or an Antique Gold from Vallejo or something would have. So I think that I really enjoy the color, how the color kind of interworks with the paint scheme as a whole. If you want to see the full painting video, make sure to leave a comment in the videos. It's not my best paint scheme I've ever done. Like I said, I've never done Vanguard, but if you're interested in seeing it, leave a comment. If you're enjoying the video so far and you're still around, leave a comment and just say, tell me anything that you think I could improve on. Leave a like if you thought that it was a pretty good video. Really trying to see what I can improve on. This is my first video, so there's not a lot that I haven't done anything since I did Yu-Gi-Oh! A while back, so really don't have a ton of experience with any of this for a very long time. Very rusty in a sense, but I am a victim of the Warhammer 40k or Yu-Gi-Oh! Warhammer 40k cart pipeline, the card games to tabletop miniatures pipeline. We're going to try and do something with the something I've never done before. I think I should have just left it there. I kind of go overboard with that second spray. Never really done the power swords in the white-blue kind of style with the airbrush. I just wanted to give it out a try since it was a miniature that it's kind of a technique I've never tried before. It definitely looks a little bit weird to me until I get in and do the edge highlighting with the brush. Before that, it just kind of looks, I don't know if it was the PSI on my airbrush. I kind of only recently got one and only recently started kind of using it to paint minis. It's nice, but it definitely doesn't do everything you can do with the brush. The control's a little bit less. So that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. The edge highlight really helps tie together all the different coloring and kind of gives it a little bit of a galaxy effect near where the edges of the spray. So I don't hate it, it's just I'm kind of surprised. You can kind of see a little bit of like the OSL that I attempted to do on the cape from the jetpack. I did attempt it again with the airbrush. I got a little bit of overspray, which I don't think is terrible, but the general aesthetic came out pretty good for my opinion. While I could see a little bit better paint job, I did enjoy painting it in the way that kind of came out, and did a little bit of OSL with the sword as well on the mud down there. Edge highlighting really tied the sword together in my opinion. Before that, it didn't really have a cohesive look. I kind of go overboard on this side. I'm trying real hard, but because of the angle I'm painting at or something, and because of the hook in the brush that kind of started to form at this point, it's kind of difficult. Just kind of like barely tapping it in so that it only barely gets the fuller. I think it came out pretty nice. So here's the final result. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and